quickly check the newspapers now. The front page is BNFT begins this morning and says consumers to bear cost of subsidy. The story is captured on page 3. And of course, this is a story falling out from the supplementary budget review. The finance minister said to have told journalists that those who are consuming more will pay for those below the lifeline. The Daily Guide has on the front page how cop murdered family. The inside story. We'll tell you more about that later on. The Ghanaian Times is up with a number of stories on the front page, also carrying that story of the horrific murder in Tema. Cop 32 kills 2 sons, mother-in-law, and commits suicide. The key one here is the Muntie FM panelist, owners were told will face sentence today, and William drag Krukubako, Cabo, and others to court. That's the Ghanaian Times. The Daily Graphic says PURC queries companies over current challenges. We'll take a deeper look at this story. It comes with a photograph of the Public Relations and External Affairs Director of a company. And then also EPA will lead to job losses, CSOs, but Deputy Trade Minister calls for calm, and Mr. Martin freed, also captured by the Daily Graphic. The Finder says toll breaks down again since June 8 due to lack of RFCC. We'll find out exactly what that is. And then NDPC bemoans multiple biometric data collection and says that is the reason why perhaps we'll find it difficult to get these data into one that we can easily refer to. Those are the stories that we will take a look at quickly this morning. My guest already seated, and to my left is the Chief Executive Officer of CTFM, Samuel Atamensah. Samuel, good morning again.
Morning.
And I hope you're doing great.
Very well.
After supplementary budget, I'm sure you should be happy.
Charlie.
That things might be okay.
So the value is the same.
Okay. All right. Welcome once again. And then to my right, my extreme right is Joe Jackson. Joe, you were here yesterday. We spoke at length about the budget.
Yes, we did.
And it was quite eventful. The fact
I thought I was feeling a bit more optimistic.
Okay. And I like your analogy. You are in a hole, so you don't, once you stop digging, it means that at least you have stopped somewhere.
You stop. The key, stop digging.
Just ensure you don't dig again.
Don't stop digging. Don't get back to digging.
All right. I'm grateful. And then to my right is the Chief Executive of HR Perspective, Dr. Edward Komodo. Good morning. And I'm sure you're also fine after the supplementary budget. Well, hoping for better things.
Still digesting.
Okay. Grateful, gentlemen. So let's start with these 2 stories. First, the BNFT is saying that consumers are to bear the cost of subsidy. And the story is suggesting that the finance minister has hinted that higher consumers of electricity will ultimately bear the cost of recently announced subsidy on tariffs, which the ECG initially said will be taken care of through a government financing arrangement. The IMF has been demanding answers, and so the finance minister yesterday told journalists that the ECG move was only to correct an anomaly in the previous tariff structure and not necessarily reintroduction of subsidy. Now, for high consumers, they may be paying high tariffs such that it helps pay for the subsidies of the low consumers. Now, he says this is progressive. This is a principle that says that if you earn more, you contribute more to society. That's the finance minister talking. We'll tie that story in with the PURC asking some questions from power companies. Mr. Atamensah, let me start with you. Now, subsidy realignment, now there's a better explanation that those who are consuming more will now pay for those with a low consumption. Is this explanation something that we should
model this kind of challenge? I mean, I don't even know who they are referring to as the high consumers. And are we talking about domestic consumers? I mean, if my company is a high-end consumer, a heavy user of electricity, what it means is that my cost of operation is going to go up. What it means is that it's going to affect the individuals who may not, in their individual capacities, be heavy users.
Right.
And so, really, this will affect everybody, just everybody.
And perhaps even hit industry more, if indeed
That's
that is the
the
case.
point I'm making. That once you do a blanket categorization of heavy users, it means industry is gone. Because a year ago, for instance, I was buying 3,500 CDs
Month.
a week, not a week.
A week.
Now I buy up to 9,000, at times 11,000 a week of electricity. Now, if I'm now going to see an increment, what it means is that my general operational cost is going to increase. And if it increases, it's going to affect what gets to the employee. So it should have been foreseen. It's not rocket science. And it looks like it will give the government some relief in theory.
Temporarily.
In theory. But what we see on the ground, because you see, they have put in several measures and we don't seem to be seeing the real effect on the ground. That's my only challenge. The question whether they are doing what they have to do, yes, they are doing what they have to do, but whether we are seeing the effect, I think is some light years away.
I see. I'm grateful, Samuel. Dr. Kwapong, but if all this realignment and the fact, won't government be better off by just deciding to take off all these taxes so that the tariffs will go down? Because, like Mr. Tamensa was saying, if indeed the categorization of heavy means industry, then of course they will be at the receiving end.
Well, I don't think he was saying anything new. It has always been there. Anytime you wanted connection to your house, for instance, you were asked as to whether it's for domestic consumption or commercial. And whether you answered domestic or commercial, beyond a certain limit in terms of volume of consumption, you were put in a higher bracket and you paid more. So over the years, the high consumers have always paid more for electricity. By way of some kind of engineering to cushion the very poor against some of these hardships. So it has always been there. I mean, I don't see why we would now let it appear as if it's a new thing altogether. It has always been there. And when you are in crisis, at times you use all sorts of semantics to, as it were, convince consumers and the public that we are doing something.
So for you, it's not anything new.
It's nothing new,
and that is the same thing we've been running all the while.
Yes, those who consume large quantities of power are placed in a certain bracket and they are made to pay more. It has always been there. It's nothing new. I don't see anything new in it. And it's like progressive taxation. We know that in society, if you did the segmentation, you have the rich, you have the poor, and progressively, as you earn more, you pay more. So it's nothing.
But if indeed this is the situation, then it means that the industry is really suffering.
Yes.
Because there are those that we should cushion for them to be able to create the jobs that we need.
That's right. But ultimately, it is the poor employee or worker who suffers. Because when industry suffers, ultimately is compelled to introduce more efficient ways of doing things, cutting costs. And the moment we start cutting costs, we are looking at wages, we are looking at allowances, we are looking at areas, even training, areas that we can reduce costs. So ultimately, the poor individual worker then suffers for all this. Even though on the surface, it looks as if he's being cushioned against high tariffs. But in the long term, it will affect his wage, it will affect his ability to stay in his job. So for me, it's a very...
All right. I'm grateful, Dr. Kwapong. Mr. Jackson, so all these discussions about subsidy, alignment, and what we're being told now is because we've gotten our hands into the mouth of the lion, and taking it out becomes difficult. Now, should we ignore these and then decide to do what we think is good for us?
Ignore the IMF?
But if indeed it is troubling us.
Forget it, it's too late. And we don't have any credibility at all to say we are going to. If we ignore the IMF, it will be a death knell for this country. But listen, the problem is really just politics. So everybody's saying something trying to bring something in there so that, listen, as for tariffs being progressive, even when I was a young boy, our electricity bill was progressive. There's nothing new about that. What is worrying, though, is this. So those who are on prepaid, does it mean that, for example, if I go and I want to buy my monthly consumption, what happens? If I want to buy for 2 months, what happens? Or I should buy piecemeal. You know, there are several murky issues there that have not even been dealt with. But it's just plain politics. Day one, someone says it's a subsidy and it's being done by a refinance agreement with the banks. Day two, it's not a subsidy anymore. Day three, now it is the consumers who are bearing the cost. The cat is out of the bag. Nothing has changed. If it's not even a subsidy, nothing has changed. They've just shifted the payment to another set of people. So it's just politics. It's just politics. And even the PURC, forget them. They are also playing politics. What are they doing? PURC can say, we are looking through our rules to find what we can do to utility companies. What? And anyway, when in PR people start looking through the rules to find what they can do, that's not. This is all just all plain politics. Telling us something to calm people down, take their minds off their issues, and move on. There's no listen. Everywhere you turn, there's a different story. Everywhere you turn, there's a different story. What is PRC saying? Doesn't it know what is happening? Is PRC telling me they don't know that there is a schedule? In fact, now the schedule is so well laid out that I can predict when my power will go off in my house. Yes. So there is some schedule. If you won't tell me, that's okay. I'm intelligent.
You'll find a way to know yourself.
I'm intelligent enough to know when it will go off.
Okay, let me go to Samuel, because this issue, we need to stay on it a bit longer. If we have an agreement with IMF, and this agreement is biting, can't we decide to let go of that agreement?
I think, Bright.
Mr. Jackson thinks that it's a dangerous thing to do.
This conversation is too complicated for people. Even me, it's too complicated.
For an early morning conversation.
Yes, what I know is this. You see, I listened to the lady, was it the
Nana Ajantwa.
PR, yes, Nana Ajantwa. Now she says that they have capacity. They don't have the fuel to energize the system. For as long as they have capacity, there can't be doom so. And I'm saying that, what has she eaten this morning? Yesterday, I had lights off from morning up until 8:30, the lights were not on. So I called 611 ECG helpline. And the gentleman says that, sir, you are supposed to come at 7, but we have a little problem.
I like that.
You are supposed to come back on at 7, but we have a little problem. But please bear with us. We'll be back before 9. And 8:51
was on.
We're on. So I'm asking, what does he mean by supposed to come at 7? Isn't there a schedule? Just tell us so we know how to plan our life. You see, like you're saying, everybody is just saying anything and they'll go to sleep because they can get away with it. And this doomsday thing is very serious. I don't know. You see, in the Western world or elsewhere, the holders and managers of policy subject themselves to policy. You can't tell me to be taking train and ask for you sit in a Rolls Royce. They all sit. Even Prime Minister in the UK, he will sit in the train. Here, policymakers, they live a different lifestyle. They are, cocooned away from every problem. So it looks like they don't see what is going on. The doomsday is raging on, and yet they say no. Now, PR manager comes to tell us what is purported to be the truth about a situation. When did that happen? PRC has a chief executive officer. And then the PR person is the one telling us that they are going to query or they are querying ECG.
Power company.
Now, if you want to query a power company, do you think that the power company should first hear about the query on air Are you serious? Power company want to query them, and they first hear about their query on the radio. There's no document, there are no details, nothing shown. Oh, we will query them because as for us, we have capacity, and they should have known that. Who should have known? It's a money issue. It's a money issue. The power companies, they manufacture money. We don't have money. We don't have money.
I see. So PRC, for instance, is asking questions that indeed, if the managers of these companies, power companies, knew that there were going to be issues about the terror in Nigeria, and they should have stored
right.
to all.
Nobody informs you about terror. Nobody informs you ahead of time.
They're not doing their job as a regulator.
What
asking
we are
questions.
saying is that if you are regulator properly so-called, you should know that power is driven by systems, and systems, you should anticipate failures. Don't try and push everything on the power. You are the regulator. That's who you are. So you also should have foreseen a situation like this. So which one is the backup plan for us as a nation? To just come and sit and tell us that it's the power companies, No, we shouldn't take this one.
Dr. Kopo, Madam Jantua is also suggesting that what is needed now is constant communication from the power companies and not a timetable. I heard Mr. Atamesa said that he had to call ECG before he was told that you were to have come at 7, but due to one or two reasons, you come at about 8 thereabout. Now, PRC says what we need is constant communication from the power companies and not a timetable. Is that what you agree?
No, communication with the public.
Exactly.
But they are the regulators. They are the regulators, and they are constantly monitoring, and they constantly stay in touch with them. So if there is going to be a problem, they are the first to know. So who should communicate? Is it not the regulator who should be in a better position to coordinate and collate all this information and pass on to the public, rather than asking ECG, Gradeco, VRA to tell us? And there could be, messed up kind of information that they'll be churning out to the public. So I disagree with her totally. Now, Mr. Tamensa said, we seem to lack ability to do systems thinking. If you are supplying power to a nation, and we have assured the nation that over a 6-month period, we mobilized everything to get Ghana back on track as far as electricity supply is concerned. Then 3 months down the road, we are in the same mess. I worry. It looks as if either the operators don't brief the president well, or perhaps he does not appreciate what they say. Because if you are supplying power to us, first and foremost, and the bottom line is that we don't have enough installed capacity by way of thermal and hydro, or even if we have.
No,
the inputs very well, but the inputs are not forthcoming. All right. So the question is, if you have installed capacity, do we have the money to bring in the inputs? Several inputs: gas, crude, light crude, whatever. Now we have arrangements and agreements, but you know that in operating a business, there could be problems from time to time. Do we have a fallback plan in all this, a disaster recovery kind of measure? So when Nigeria Gas stops supplying gas, then immediately we are in crisis. What is the alternative? If Abuase does not supply gas, we are in crisis. I mean, couldn't we think through and put all this together by way of a matrix? Money, the network itself, the capacity of the network, the supply of gas, the competence of the people operating the system. All this must be put together so that in the event that one component fails, immediately there is another to make up for the loss. But we seem to be running helter-skelter, and at the end of the day, we don't get the quality service that we require. Meanwhile, Ghanaians were convinced that we are going to increase the tariffs, and the moment we increase the tariffs, you get quality service. We are not getting the quality service. So we are back to where we started from, and it's very disappointing. And I'm sad that Gentwa is trying to clean up the mess by coming. She shouldn't have done this at all. She shouldn't have done this.
Mr. Jackson,
as if she's not on top of her job.
This regulator, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, is it doing its job for the consumer, or you suspect that perhaps it is just trying to work for these power providers?
Listen, let's stop this management in the media business. The regulator comes to sit in at a power conference, at a press conference, and is asking questions of the power companies. I mean, please. I mean, do I come in?
It should have gone to the companies themselves.
You are in your bedroom with your wife. Then you come out and sit in public and ask her what happened last night. Is that what we do? Is the PSC not their regulator? Are they not stakeholders in this business together? That to come on radio to come and ask questions? What are we, kids? Do we manage it? Listen, at the bottom line, my opinion is simply this: there's no money. There is no money. All this is trying to window dress the solution and the issue. If there was money, I assure you, we would have been up and running. Because you can't have your cake and eat it. If you have installed capacity, then what is the problem? Give us the power. Buy the crude and give us the power. If you don't, all this FPSO, now all of us have learned, have become petty power energy people in our own small way. Now you know about light crude, heavy crude, FPSO, liquefied petroleum, this, that. It's not necessary. PURC, I'm not a power person. Do your work. And if there's a crisis, tell us. Plain and simple. Don't come and manage in the media.
Let's
right.
Okay.
Think, again, we keep talking about installed capacity, and it's clear that due to the efforts of government over the last couple of years, we've been able to increase the installed capacity. So one would say that theoretically we have X amount, which is more than we need.
Right.
So peak load, what do we need? We need something less, a little less than 2,000 megawatts for the whole country. Now, installed capacity is almost 4,000 now. We have problem with money
to buy the
fuel.
crude.
Now, it beats my imagination why we then want to go and increase capacity by now procuring another, what do you call it?
Combined cycle.
Yeah, another
Plant
for almost $1 billion.
That's the agreement before Parliament now.
Yes. Why would we want to? I mean, you look, anybody who wants to push this can explain anything.
Wouldn't you
But
take the
equation does not match up. It doesn't match up. And you see, this is what accounts for the high cost of the tariffs, because of poor decision making. It's not their intention. They have good intention, but somebody is not managing something well. Because you have bought a power plant of, say, 400 megawatts for something in the region of 400 million or 500 million before. Now we are going to lease one. We are going to lease one 400 megawatt for 1 billion. Lease, 10-year lease or so. So I don't know, in my pedestrian brain, I don't even understand.
Let me ask you this.
As they say, I can't think far.
You can't think far. But won't you take the Power Ministry's explanation that, look, we have installed generation, but hydro takes a chunk of it, referring to Akosombo and Bui. Now, these are not performing well because of the low water intake. So if you take that of hydro out, the thermal generation we have isn't that much as the way we seem to talk about it.
Okay, that's correct. That's correct. So do we have to spend 1 billion to purchase something which we are told costs within the region of 600 million? Right. That's the question we are asking.
Right.
That's a question. Let me see what Mr. Jackson will say.
You see, let's be clear here. Do we have enough capacity or not? The answer from the powers that be is yes. PUIC says yes. The minister says yes. Okay. Why do we have doomsaw? Or I call it now power rationing. Maybe doomsaw is a bad word. So why do we have power rationing?
So are you running away from it?
No, it's not a good word.
Oh, okay.
Doomsaw is not a good word.
All right.
When the powers tell us that doomsaw is a bad word, we agree. Doomsaw is a bad word. Don't mention the word doomsaw. Don't mention, use power rationing. Every week we'll find a new term for you. But the truth of the matter is simply this. If we have enough capacity, why are we buying more at a price which is even debatable? Honestly, there must be that some of the people at Parliament must be scientists from NASA, because they will be more intelligent than the rest of us. But if the people at Parliament are like representing us, like teachers and policemen and all the other people that we know, there is something that they know that is going before Parliament that the rest of us can't understand, though. There must be rocket scientists there, so that they are dealing with higher equations that you are just like, you don't talk some.
Okay.
Because truly, we don't understand this.
That agreement is before Parliament. We'll see what it will come out with.
Yes.
But let's just stay on the energy issue.
We are worried. You see,
That it might
we are
pass
worried.
through.
We are worried because, you see, we keep talking about the cost, the money we pay for utilities. But we are saying that it's a direct function, the correlation between the quality of decisions we make at the top and what we pay down there is the problem. And I'm saying that policymakers are watching us and they know the truth. There's too much politicking in this business. For instance, let's ask ourselves, PURC, why do you need a politician to be managing an organization like that? Why on earth do you need a politician like Moses Asaga? And I'm not questioning his academic credentials.
Right.
I'm saying that
MPA.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I take that back. But even MPA,
Yes.
why would you need a politician? You see, that's where the problem comes. That we seem not to want to solve our problems in honesty, but we all pretend we are solving the problems, and the problems keep popping up back at us. And that's what we do. Since in the last 3-4 years, the problems with power, energy that we said we're solving, tell me which of them has been solved.
Would you be worried if the politician is an expert and sits there?
Well, I would be okay if the politician were an expert before becoming a politician. Okay. That's fine. But is that to say that he would be the only expert?
But let's
No, come on, and then
just to
come
go
in.
up on the history lane. You know, many years ago in my village, there was a training college, and they had a huge genset, and the genset could supply power to the entire college, and then the village as well. And I believe we were, well, I don't know, but our parents were paying something towards the maintenance of that. Look, if you keep pushing the tariffs, I mean, increasing the tariffs and increasing the rail electrification, so many taxes into the pricing of electricity for consumers, a time will come when communities will go buy their own gensets and run.
You're assuming that full cost will be down.
No, but but they'll run it more efficiently. As we speak, there are some not mining companies. Yeah, some mining, and then lumber is what, timber companies who rely on gensets because they cannot trust the national grid to run their business, and they have factored that cost into the pricing of their final products for the consumer. So a time will come, the what do you call it, the power companies will themselves be in jeopardy. So let us be careful and find a lasting solution to this problem. There are so many inefficiencies in the manner in which power is generated,
Right.
and the politicking